What do you get when you mix a story that makes no sense with a crap load of jump scares? Well, you get the movie The Nun. The Nun seems more about jump scares, about 27 of them by our count, than an actual story you can follow. The Nun is the 5th installment of the Conjuring fakery. Conjuring franchise. And is supposed to be a far prequel to the Conjuring stories that Ed and Lorraine Warren claim are based on true accounts. Now, no worries, because The Nun makes no claims to be based on true accounts. It also makes no claims on making any sense. This movie has more holes in it than a pasta strainer. The Nun was directed by Corin Hardy, whose claim to fame is from a movie most people haven't seen or even heard of, which, unlike The Nun, at least has a storyline. The screenplay was written by Gary Doberman. Not that Doberman. This Doberman, though there is some serious family resemblance. The movie follows a priest with a haunted past, and a nun, well, not really a nun, but a novice, that is on the threshold of becoming a nun once she gives her final vows. The Vatican has sent these two questionable people to investigate the death of an actual young nun at a monastery in southern Transylvania. Wait, don't they have enough problems there with those vampires?
My blood now flows through her veins.
It's inspired by a movie that had a great story and great actors, The Name of the Rose, starring Sean Connery and his little novice, the young Christian Slater. So if you're a fan of the Conjuring universe, you may want to check out this film, but be prepared to be underwhelmed.
So are you afraid of nuns? Were you afraid of The Nun?
No. Now, here's the problem with The Nun. It's a movie full of jump scares, but lacking on a story. And I think that's the biggest issue. Let me break it down for you. You have a priest with a haunted past. And his haunted past is the whole, there was a possessed boy, he was trying to help, boy ended up dying. So you have a lady who is a nun but not really a nun because she hasn't done her vows, and the Vatican decides to put these two people together from different areas.
In your holy name, I bind all evil spirits to this fire!
And then send them to a monastery in Romania that some Frenchman, that they nicknamed Frenchie on the movie, had found a dead nun that had hung herself, and he cut her down, stuck her in a freezer, and went back and contacted everybody. So the Vatican decided to stick these two people with these haunted pasts together and send them to this monastery in hopes that they were going to be able to figure out what's truly going on and let them know if it's still holy ground. But that's the basis of the story. The place has been there for centuries prior, and there were a group of people who opened a portal to allow this demon, Volek, to come out. Then the Knights Templar and a bunch of others show up and get the demon back into the portal and shut the portal. But now the portal's open again because of all the bombing and so forth due to a war-torn region.
Well, I think the whole concept is contrived. I mean, you're talking about a universe, the Conjuring universe that James Wan created, with Conjuring 1, Conjuring 2, Annabelle creation, and now The Nun. And it almost seems like what they did is they went into Conjuring 2, and they said, oh, what scare got the best testing with audiences? And it may have been that nun scare where the nun, you see like a silhouette, I think it is, and then there's a portrait of a nun and it turns into this nun character and comes at the camera.
People really love the nun character.
And it was a scary moment. It was a jump scare for the most part, but it was a scary moment in Conjuring 2. And it's almost as though they took that character based on testing, decided to try to write a movie about it.
This is part of the Conjuring franchise, like you were saying. And this is the 5th installment on an expected seven movies that'll be coming out. And you had The Conjuring, okay, the Ed and Lorraine were involved in that case. Conjuring 2, and there's a lot of disagreements there that Ed and Lorraine supposedly weren't involved in that case,
Yeah.
but they just randomly showed up, tried to force themselves on it. They were shut down, and then they were able to get in touch with one of the sisters, and from there they decided to write a book about it as if they were there and they battled all this evil.
When you get into the Ed and Lorraine Warren stories anyway, you're already, as you said, on thin ice in some of these cases. Ed and Lorraine Warren, for those of you who haven't followed their history, they were in many of the high-profile haunting cases of the 70s. They showed up at Amityville. They showed up in Enfield. They showed up for the Conjuring case. They showed up at these places. They got involved in some level, but in many cases, they just happened to be there and did nothing to investigate, but ended up writing a book. So we're already stretching the truth here. But for, this is Hollywood at its finest. But the question is, when you move to a movie like The Nun, can it be anything more than jump scares? Is Hollywood relegated to jump scare horror films only? Because that seems like all we're getting.
But I think when it comes down to it, out of a 1 to 10, and The Nun's barely hitting the 3. We all love horror movies out there, but I think we could at least all like a movie that has a storyline that's not all about jump scares. What? So make sure you check out Paranormal Popcorn.
Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and like us on Facebook. What?